Murdered me because she wanted the life I had built with the supposedly ordinary Moss family. When we were both reborn on adoption day, she rushed to steal my old choice and sent me to the powerful Morelands, certain their cold air would destroy me. I let her believe she had won. She remembered who became rich in our first life, but she never understood who had created that fortune, or what kind of man she had chosen. Mrs. Moreland's face tightened. Such a fickle child is unworthy of the Moreland name. Then her gaze softened as she turned to me. You seem like a good girl. Come with me. We have a son at home you'll like. I simply nodded and took her outstretched hand. A triumphant gleam flashed in Hazel's eyes. If she just won a great victory, but she had no idea. While everyone feared Alexander's eccentricities, I was far more terrified of Brad. A guy as cold and venomous as a snake. In my last life, I had spent years desperately trying to escape his grasp. This time, she had unknowingly done me the biggest favor imaginable. As Mrs. Moreland stepped outside to get the car, Hazel sidled up to me, her eyes full of contempt. Enjoy your new life, Carmen, he whispered. This time, you're the one who will suffer. I didn't even bother to reply. Her gloating was nothing more than a clown's performance. She thought she had secured a fresh start, but the joke was on her. She hadn't escaped a fire, she had just jumped headfirst into a hell far more brutal than she could ever imagine. After I arrived at the Moreland estate, Mrs. Moreland gave me a private suite and hired a small army of tutors for piano, dance, and etiquette. She was gentle but frank. Sweetheart, I'll be honest. I adopted a daughter to find a suitable match for my son. You must apply yourself. Alexander returns from abroad in a month. If he takes a liking to you, your future will be secure. Remember, the entire Morgan legacy will be his one day. I knew from my last life that Alexander had felt nothing but disdain for Hazel. And her time here had been miserable. I didn't dare hope the cold, aloof air would favor me either. I needed my own plan for survival. A month later, the Morelands held a grand ball to welcome Alexander home. The elite of Edinburgh were all there, including the Moss family. Due to their close business ties. Across the glittering ballroom, Hazel spotted me immediately. Dressed in a virginal white gown, she glided over, her smile as sharp as a knife. Enjoy the party, Carmen, she whispered. Tonight will be the most humiliating night of your life. I remembered this banquet well from my last life. It was when she had first met Alexander. He had taken one look at her, frowned, and disgusted, and told her to get lost in front of everyone. She had shamelessly clung to him, declaring herself his future wife. I kicked her away without a second thought. But I was reborn too. I knew how her story ended, and I had already charted a different course. Hazel was waiting for me to suffer the same humiliation she did. She was in for a surprise, but she was about to be disappointed. Just before Alexander was to make his grand entrance, I intercepted him in a private study. It was our first meeting. He stood a full head taller than me, his strikingly handsome face cold and unapproachable. Tisk, so he really wasn't easy to approach. I handed him a document. I know you've acquired a new project, but are unsure how to proceed. This is my proposal. I guarantee it will be profitable. I may have grown up in an orphanage with only a high school education, but I possessed a sharp business mind. In my last life, Brad Moss became a tycoon precisely because I was the strategist behind the scenes. How did you know about this project? He asked. He took the file and flipped through the pages. In my last life, that project had been Brad's. He treated me well then, so I gave him the plan that secured the deal. This time, without me helping him, it had fallen into Alexander's lap. I did my research, I said with a faint smile. Mr. Moreland, I can prepare proposals like this for you regularly. On one condition, in public, we play the part of a family. In private, we lead separate lives. Alexander was a businessman first. Profit was his ultimate motivator. If I could prove my usefulness, he would reassess my value. Just as I expected him to agree, he raised an eyebrow. I see you want to trade your cooperation for a safe harbor, then? His tone shifted, becoming almost teasing. Didn't my mother tell you? She didn't adopt a daughter, she was shopping for a daughter-in-law. I'm aware. So what's your point? Confused, a faint smile touched his lips as he closed the folder. This plan is excellent. Once you marry me, every idea you have will naturally belong to me anyway. With that, he turned and walked away. I stood frozen, his words echoing in my mind. What did he mean by that? Did he actually want to marry me? The thought was absurd. But Hazel was still waiting. In the ballroom for Alexander to humiliate me in public. No, that was impossible. He just wanted to secure a lifetime of free proposals. That had to be it. When I entered the grand hall, Mrs. Moreland immediately took my arm, proudly introducing me to the assembled elders. This is my future daughter-in-law, isn't she lovely? So gentle and well-mannered. A chorus of polite praise followed. From across the room, I felt Hazel's gaze burning into me. Standing beside Brad, her eyes were dark pools of resentment. Clutching her wine glass, she strode over and addressed Mrs. Moreland with false concern. Mrs. Moreland, Alexander has only just returned home. Has Carmen even met him? How can you be so sure he's agreed to this? He had already made a terrible impression at the orphanage. Now, hearing her audacious question, Mrs. Moreland's eyes flashed with fury. How dare you? The Moreland family's affairs are none of your concern. Who do you think you are? Brad's face paled. My apologies, Mrs. Moreland. Please forgive my sister. She speaks without thinking. But I saw it. The fleeting, dangerous shadow that crossed his eyes. I had seen that look countless times in my last life. It always signaled the beginning of a nightmare. A cold dread seized me. I instinctively stepped backward, only to stumble against a solid, warm chest. I turned, startled, and found myself looking up into Alexander's face. His arm steadied me. Careful, he murmured. A rare smile softened his typically cold eyes. And his voice was gentler than I thought possible. Hazel, standing right in front of us, looked like she was about to explode. She must have been screaming inside, wondering why he was treating me with such tenderness. Alexander, she blurted, do you really like Carmen? She's just an orphan, and she's impure. She was assaulted. Her words silenced the entire hall. She was referring to that night at the orphanage. A man had crept into my room while I slept. His hands tearing at my clothes, he tried to violate me, but I had fought back. I smashed a flower vase over his head. After the incident, Hazel had spread the vicious rumor far and wide, branding me as soiled goods. Even come to me, her eyes glittering with triumph. Carmen, care to guess who sent that man to your room? In that moment, the final piece clicked into place. The entire ordeal, the memory sent a fresh wave of anger through me. My fist clenching. I was about to retort, but Alexander spoke first. Is that a fact? His voice was dangerously quiet, his gaze locked on Hazel. Mistaking his tone for curiosity, she crooned, it's true. Carmen was defiled by some filthy old. She never finished the sentence. Without another word, Alexander's foot shot out, catching her squarely in the stomach and sending her crashing to the floor. A collective gasp rippled through the hall. All conversation ceased. Brad's face turned a sickly gray. Mr. Moreland, my deepest apologies. This is my failure. I have been too lax in disciplining my sister. Alexander's voice was pure ice. If I ever hear her slander my fiancé again, I'll make sure she can't stand another day in this city. In fact, your entire family can pack their bags and leave with her. I suggest you teach her some respect immediately. Brad, yes, sir. It will be done. He strode over and delivered 3 sharp, brutal strikes to Hazel's face. Left and right. Ah. Stop. It hurts. She wailed, her screams piercing the stunned silence. Mrs. Moreland's voice cut through the commotion, calm yet absolute. Let this be clear to everyone. This young woman is my daughter-in-law. My name is Carmen Bingley. If I hear of anyone mistreating her, I will return the favor tenfold. Feel better now? Alexander murmured, holding me close. It's exhilarating, I whispered, half laughing. Felt like clearing years of smoke from my lungs. Hazel's public spectacle had an unexpected benefit. It fast-tracked my relationship with Alexander overnight. Everyone knew I was the Morelands' chosen daughter-in-law. The respect they showed me was entirely new. As for Hazel, Brad had dragged her away, his face thunderous with humiliation. In my last life, he'd kept his vicious nature hidden much longer, but today's events had torn the mask off prematurely. I knew her nightmare was just beginning. And I wondered if she had the strength to survive it. For a while, she left me alone, giving me the precious time I needed to make money and plan my escape from this gilded cage. Rebirth had taught me one undeniable truth. The only person you can truly rely on is yourself. I was in the middle of my job search when Alexander contacted me. His text was straightforward, come work at my company. Starting salary $5,000 a month plus bonuses. I woke in a filthy restroom with the same man Hazel had once sent to assault me. This time, I had brought a knife. I cut my own arm, smeared the blood across my clothes, and waited for the door to open. Hazel arrived first, already performing for the people behind her. Mr. Moreland, please don't hurt Carmen. She's just lonely, that's why she's meeting a man in a place like this. Her plea died when she saw me standing, armed and covered in blood. Alexander was right behind her. Hazel had invited him to witness my disgrace. Alexander stopped dead when he saw me. His gaze dropped to the knife in my hand, then to the blood soaking my sleeve. Hazel's face lit up with triumph. Alexander, I tried to stop her. Carmen has been sneaking around with this man. Enough. One word. Hazel's smile vanished. Alexander walked straight past her and grabbed my wrist, his expression tightening when he saw the shallow cut. You did this yourself. I gave him a small smile. I had to make the scene convincing. His eyes darkened. You used yourself as bait? I knew Hazel would come. He stared at me for several seconds before letting out a humorless laugh. You're reckless. Effective, though. Behind us, Hazel began shaking her head. No. She's lying. I saw her come in here. I looked directly at her. Yes. You saw me come here. Her face changed. Because you arranged it. The room went silent. Alexander turned toward Hazel. Explain. I don't know what she's talking about. I pulled a tiny recording device from my pocket. Hazel's own voice filled the restroom. Make sure Alexander sees her. I want everyone to know what kind of woman she really is. Her expression collapsed. Brad arrived seconds later, having followed the commotion. He listened to the recording once. Then he slapped Hazel so hard she stumbled against the wall. You idiot. Hazel stared at him in disbelief. You believe her over me? Brad's jaw tightened. I believe the recording. I almost laughed. In my previous life, Brad had spent years manipulating me until I doubted my own memories. Now he was the one standing there helplessly watching his sister fall apart. Alexander stepped beside me. From this moment onward, the Moss family has no business dealings with the Morelands. Brad went pale. Mr. Moreland, please. Leave. That single word destroyed years of business ties. Hazel started crying. This isn't fair. Carmen stole my life. I looked at her calmly. No, Hazel. I picked up my coat. You gave it to me yourself. Her face went white. Alexander wrapped his jacket around my shoulders and guided me outside. Once we reached the car, he opened the door for me. You realize, he said, that you're becoming rather expensive. I blinked. Why? My company just lost a major business partner because of you. I smiled. Then I'll make you enough money to replace them. He paused. Then that rare smile appeared again. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. I got into the car. For the first time I realized something terrifying. I had spent my entire first life trying to escape Alexander's family. This time Alexander wasn't my cage. He was my greatest ally. And Hazel had just handed him a reason to destroy everything she loved. Within 3 months, Alexander's company had doubled its profits. Every proposal I gave him turned into a successful deal. He stopped calling me his adopted sister. He started introducing me as his partner. Meanwhile, the Moss family's business collapsed piece by piece. Hazel blamed me for everything. She even tried to expose my past, but Alexander released the recording of her framing me instead. The scandal exploded. Investors abandoned the Moss family overnight. Brad lost his position, their properties were seized, and the family was forced to move into a tiny apartment. Hazel couldn't accept it. She stormed into my office one evening and screamed, "You stole everything from me." I looked up from my paperwork. "You chose the Morelands." She froze. "You were so happy when you thought I would suffer." I smiled. "So why are you crying now?" Her eyes filled with hatred. "Because this isn't how it was supposed to happen." "Exactly." I stood and walked past her. "That's the difference between us." A week later, Alexander proposed. There was no grand spectacle. He simply placed a ring on my desk and said, "You wanted security. I'll give you something better." I stared at him. "Marriage?" "Marriage. And what do you get?" He leaned closer. "You." My heart skipped. For once, I had no clever answer. We married quietly. Then came the final blow. At our wedding banquet, Brad and Hazel appeared uninvited. Hazel looked exhausted, bitter, and completely defeated. She stared at my wedding ring. "You really won." I smiled. "No, Hazel." I lifted my glass. "You lost." Alexander took my hand beneath the table. And while everyone applauded our marriage, Hazel finally understood the cruelest truth of all. She had been reborn with my memories. Yet she had still chosen the exact path that destroyed her. I had been given the Morelands by mistake. She had been given the Moss family by choice. And somehow, I was the one who ended up with everything. The end.